from, where do you want me to face it?
You can face me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd come from reading something that Stripe Material had spoken of on Uber.
Yeah.
And I'd never heard of Uber. But I was like, okay, if Uber is doing this worldwide, how about if for what would work for Zimbabwe and what would work for Africa? And I knew because we have combis and stuff, that was not going to work. So I'm like, what's the next best thing? And I like food. I thought, how about if someone can order on an app and pick up? So initially it was just pick up.
Yeah.
And then I started reading on the food delivery companies. And then I started saying, oh, there's actually pick up and delivery. So the first one I checked out was GrabUp. I was like, okay, so I got an example from that. That's where now we got the full picture on what to do for Munch. But it was now things of like what was scary was how we're going to do the delivery. Where are we going to get the money to get the bikes? All those things now became questions. But at least now I had a dream and a vision. And at that moment, it was just me.
Oh, it was just you before this is before Farai came in.
Yes.
Okay. Just notice there's Farai as well.
Yes.
Okay.
So you want me to continue?
Continue.
Yes.
Continue, yeah.
So then what happens is I then spoke to one of these guys, one of the guys now works for us. And he's like, so he kind of like, we need to do some documentation on this. So we started just writing up and doing some research. You could say more of like a business plan, right? Then I got to understand the business in depth just from that reading.
Yeah.
Because now I knew of Just Eat in the UK. I knew of Zomato in Dubai. And then I knew of GrabUp. And then after a few months, done a business plan, etc. I started meeting up with developers. Met a few developers, expensive. That's when it got real that I knew that we needed funding.
Yeah.
And every developer was quoting from $3,000 to about $5,000. At that moment, September, I spoke to a cousin of mine. Cousin was like, hey, I know someone who knows guys who code. He directed me, so her friend directed me to a guy who did our designs. Now a good friend, you'd know Victory. So he then suggested it. So I told him, at that moment now, Farai is in the picture. I'm talking to Farai. Farai's like, hey, they skipped the dishes in Canada. I think this could actually work in Zimbabwe and Africa. So we were talking and I was like, okay. And he's like, hey, I would want to put in the input and what if I would want to be a co-founder? So I was like, okay, you're going to have to put in a buy-in. And he put in money. That was the money that we actually used to pay Victory to do So he did our design, our interface.
Okay.
So at least he does the interface. So Victory now gave a good suggestion because I was like, dude, struggling to get money. Victory's like, how about if we do an interface and I do a video for you, like a demo video, a prototype that can show an investor exactly how this thing is supposed to work.
Okay.
So now he did that. I'm like, okay.
So basically like a teaser.
Yes. So then I took that to an investor, potential investors, a few people. And guys were interested. Like the one person who then eventually invested liked the video, saw how it works. And at least that's now they can visualize what we're trying to do. We got our money, got a developer, paid him. And then our developer disappeared. So he disappears for 3 months. Found him. So this was supposed to start.
Oh, he disappeared. He didn't run away.
He disappeared. I mean, you could call it disappeared.
He came
right?
back.
No. He happened to be in the city. I don't know what happened, but now I had people all around the city like who would let me know if he got in the tech space. When he got in, that's where I now ended up finding. He did some of the work, disappeared again. So in the end, it took us a year for a product that was supposed to take 4 months. It took about a year and 4 months actually, a year and 4 months. We eventually launched April 2017.
So what are you doing whilst waiting for that year, waiting for?
Just doing anything and everything, like just hustle, like just at least to have a bit of money. But with regards to the product, we just started now talking to restaurants. Got drivers. So it's funny because we were now thinking we're going to launch September, October of 2016. Got our drivers, got the restaurants ready, everything. Got tablets. And then next thing we take another 6 months till we launch. So we lost all our drivers.
Wow.
Because all the drivers now couldn't wait. They're like thinking they got eager. We had a party for them. It was exciting. Yeah, I like excited saying, you know what, gave everyone their t-shirts. Come now, April, now looking for those drivers.
Did you ask for the t-shirts back?
Jack. Guys are just like, so, and also funny thing is those same t-shirts we ended up changing color, so that would be black. Those t-shirts were actually white. So that's when we started April, 2017. First 3 weeks, hardest 3 weeks. We had maybe 3 orders, not max 5. I forgot the exact detail, but I remember max 5 orders in 3 weeks. Now you start questioning, is this even a good idea? Was this the right time to launch? You know. Then after that, we realized we had only started with 3 restaurants. So we started adding restaurants, the popular restaurants. The more we did that, the more business we got.
Yeah.
Right? Because now people who liked a restaurant like Antonio's got on because of Antonio's. Yeah. Right? People who liked pizzazz got on, started ordering because of pizzazz.
So were you hoping that the restaurant would market the app, or you let the app you guys were doing the marketing of the restaurant?
We were doing the marketing, and then we were also putting flyers in the restaurant and putting stickers on every restaurant.
Okay.
Yeah, so when we were doing that, that helped. That helped a lot because now someone who would normally want to order from, say, Antonio's, now realized there was a delivery option. And when we saw that there was a delivery option, that really helped, right? From there, it was just now a matter of, just getting more people to know us. Because the more people, the word of mouth is spread, we got more clients. And the popular restaurants, as we got them, they were now also spreading the word that, hey, you can also now get deliveries done by Munch. So that started working for us really well, where we started for all the popular restaurants. But at that moment, the big vision was to end up doing for Pizza Inn, Chicken Inn, Nando's.
See, you guys got into the space. Let me stop you there. Yeah. You guys got into this delivery space, and there was already the incumbent, the one that we all knew is DAD. So how did you guys feel? You are basically taking on DAD, which no one has done. No, I don't think anyone has tried. And they just cater to one market, which is the simple, basic fast food, their own brands. So how was that going up against DAD? So this is David and Goliath.
So I would say first there was Restaurant Runners for 3 years, which had actually been in our possession.
In Zimbabwe?
Yes, in Zimbabwe. So from 2013 to 2016. And it was such I would say a blessing because they closed in September. And I remember that they closed September 5 and we were about to start. So we went to one of the restaurants, Shangri-La, and the guy's like, what great timing. You guys are coming when these guys just closed. And we had been studying them because they were going to be our competition.
I've never heard of them.
Yeah, so they were core. They were only basically core. So then they closed. So that helped us because every restaurant was now ready to work with us because they actually understood. The only difference is we had an app. So now to answer with DAD, we had then also approached Simbisa wanting also to do their deliveries, but they were confident in DAD.
Yeah.
So we had to use that. And then we didn't look at them as direct competition because we were like, it's their own brand and it's their own company. So they're doing their deliveries. Mm-hmm. We're going to be doing every other restaurant's deliveries. So we knew as long as they were not in our space, we could coexist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But at the same time, I feel if they were smart, well, this is my own view, they could have decided to take all the restaurants because they had infrastructure, the money, they've got the bikes, they don't need to charge for delivery.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So we knew that, but we just thought, a lot of people want variety. Yeah. So because of that, and because we had started before they had started, we got enough traction quick enough that even by the time they would change, it was going to take time. And also in our first year, we had exclusive contracts with all the restaurants I signed. Mm-hmm. So even if they then tried that, they should have done it before we had even launched. So we knew for a year we had a head start of, no, our restaurants couldn't sign up with them. And we had done that on purpose. So we knew in our contracts, they couldn't sign up with them. So that was also a good thing. Mm-hmm. And then now it was one of those things where we just have to grow. But we always knew also our clients also wanted the options that DAD had. Yes. But the nice thing was that we had the other options like gourmet, the expensive restaurants, the healthier food. Because at that moment, think of it, DAD was only Nando's, Steers, Pizza and Chicken. Yeah. Right? They didn't even have Rocco Mama's Ocean Pasta.
you didn't like any one of those 5, you had to drive.
Yes, you see.
Before Munch, you had to drive.
You had to drive. So you see, now we gave them the option to make sure that they could just, so that they could actually work with us, right, and order from. So we had, at that moment, we ended up having about 40 restaurants. So clients had either gone DAD, call DAD, takes 30 minutes to get an answer, or get on an app, order, and we call you back and we deliver. So it was one of those two. It was either option. And so a lot more clients started using us. Right. So it was working well for us, right? It was working well for us. And then what happened? Then now comes 2018, where business started booming. That was now really good for us because now a lot more clients actually started relying on deliveries. And I tell you, then also that's when we started in Big Force. So now we're here and in Big Force operating, and it was working well. It was good for us. We never even thought of DAD. We're not even considering them. That's when we approached these guys so that we could work with them. And at that moment, I don't know if I can mention, that's when they...
Which guys?
Simbisa.
Oh.
Yes, and at that moment, you see, I think they took advantage that we were still small. I mean, we're not yet super big, but we were smaller, much smaller than we are now. And they saw the advantage of, if we get these guys early on, they can do it. And they liked the ideas that we had and the plans that we had going forward. Because we had so many plans that we still have, right? So, and then they were thinking, why not have Munch under us and do our deliveries? So we refused that and continued just working by ourselves. And approached KFC. KFC refused to work. I mean, not refused, but then the CEO didn't acknowledge it as much as he then did a year later. But the thing is, he gave me his word that if ever he needed deliveries, he'll talk to me first. So a year later, 2019, I get a call and KFC wants us to do their deliveries. And that was our break because the moment they wanted to do deliveries with us, that meant if we got KFC, we could attract all the other big
it was validation for what you're doing.
Yes. So that was great. And we started with KFC last year, September. And I'll tell you that changed our business because the orders just increased. More people now took us seriously. More people, KFC started marketing to us. So more people started getting awareness of us. Then we come now to Corona times.
Okay, wait. I'm going to get to Corona. I want you to breathe for a bit. So yeah, Corona came in March 2020, right? Yeah. So the entire landscape of the world has changed. But Munch, as is, you guys were one of the companies that were best placed for this. This is going to be a long question. You're best placed for Corona because you're digital, you use an app, you deliver, so people don't need to go to the restaurant, right? So first of all, first one I'll ask is, given that happened, right? You've now found in the market, the current logistics market, you have a lot of other companies that are doing similar things to Munch. Not the same, but similar. Some are delivering groceries, pharmaceuticals, liquor, you name it. So they're all in that space. Do you see that as competition or validation of what you're doing?
I see it as both. Okay. So first things first, it's good that there's other guys doing other things. And that's good. It's validation for us because at least we know that if people are actually using them, they actually like that service. And they actually want a service like that. So that now also gives us the confidence to say, okay, if we can have a one-stop shop on our app, we can convert those clients that are ordering liquor from XYZ to come to use Munch. The people that are ordering pharmaceuticals to come to us. So we saw that as an opportunity to be the ones who now give people, when guys go on Munch, they're supposed to be able to see anything and everything. And that's where now Munch is going, becoming a marketplace. As competition, because we want that business. So if someone is ordering liquor from XYZ, I will not say names, they've not ordered from Munch, and we've got liquor. So that was also another thing but it's good for us because now you start having good pricing done because even now we've had to reduce pricing because you see there's quite a few alcohol guys, right? So even our pricing has to be competitive to make sure. But the advantage that we had over everyone that we still have is that we do food. So people usually want to order, for example, food, and then they do groceries. And if they can trust you with their food, they can trust you with anything. So we found that a lot of clients started trusting us even when we started. That's how we started groceries because of the Corona time. And when we started doing groceries, quite a lot of those clients who were ordering food started saying, you know what, let's try the option of groceries.
Yeah, because groceries is an interesting one because the likes of OK have tried some years back, and I don't know which are the big retail. I don't know which other big retailers have tried, but OK has tried, but they haven't been able to
really penetrate.
To they never got it off the ground. I feel it was a combination of they didn't have the know-how. That's my own belief. Plus, it was a bit early, you know. But even then, at that time, the data was much cheaper. Fast forward to 2020, the data is more expensive, but you're having more players in the sector, which is the funny part because people always use the fact that data is expensive as a deterrent. But Munch has been able, and Munch and others have been able to enter the space and say, okay, let's play there. And it's clearly shown that it can be fruitful. So yeah, that's very interesting. So the last 6 months, how has that been?
It's been really good. Like, I mean, so I will say, because of the Corona, now to come to the Corona times, a lot more now, especially when the lockdown got announced, it was a make or break for us. And I remember now thinking, okay, every restaurant was panicking, so they wanted to close because also the we hadn't been told exactly what was happening, so people didn't know if we're gonna be open or if we're gonna be closed. We just took the plan and said, you know what, we're going to open and we're gonna make sure. And that at that same moment, Kuda from Fresh in the Box was like, hey, we would want to work with you guys and you guys do our deliveries. A lot of our because we're gonna have a lot of deliveries. So we can't handle the capacity ourselves. But you guys want to do third party delivery for us. So we're like, okay. So we knew now we were doing deliveries for Fresh in the Box. And that was a great partnership. We did that for 3 months. And that was amazing. And then also we knew people needed alcohol. So we had a lot of alcohol and we delivered. It was very lucrative. And then also, so restaurants were closed. So now we're thinking, how does it work? And by the grace of God, made a few calls to Simbisa. Guys agreed to work with us. And the moment they agreed to work with us, now we're at Pizza Inn and Chicken Inn. So we started off with those two, and I think maybe 2 or 3 other restaurants that were open. And that's all we needed. So that people, and then we started groceries. So we knew all the grocery stores were going to be open. So we're like, okay, that's how we now need to start groceries. So we partnered up with Food Emporium. So now we had at least enough to make sure that we're open. And at that moment, we just every day we're opening and people started ordering. And you could see business kept on increasing. And then also started seeing people wanting alcohol because they couldn't go because grocery stores are closed at 3. We were closing at 9. We were doing things outside the box. And business kept on growing. And it was very good for us. So I would say, and at that moment, we've not gone back ever since that. Because after that, Simbisa started adding more stores, right? So Simbisa put on Nando's, put on Steers, because now we were now telling them, giving them feedback that clients want all their stores. Until we had Ocean Basket, Rocker Mamas. And at that moment, that's when KFC opened again. And from there, other restaurants started opening because people could not stay closed for long. People don't know how long the lockdown was going to be. So after the first 3 weeks, then people started hearing another extension. When that started happening, restaurants were like, you know what, we need to open. So more restaurants started opening. Yes, their working hours were not the best, but at least the fact that they were open was good for us. And because people had to stay at home, that meant they could only rely on us. So more people started becoming aware of our business and other guys, but we were the leading guys in food. And that was now good because now we're competing directly with DAD.
Okay, so that leads me to my next question. So as the lockdowns softened a bit, have you seen business taper off a bit? It's come down a bit?
So I would say when the curfew got introduced, business fell off because now restaurants were closing at 3. So this is end of June into July.
Yeah.
Because in June, the curfew gone, basically.
Yeah.
And we were now planning to operate 24 hours, Fridays and Saturdays. Then all of a sudden, that's when our president announced that now guys are closing at 3.
Yeah.
And that affected business because most people start ordering food around 5, 6, 7.
Dinner,
Yes.
whatever, they don't want to cook.
So now because of that, we couldn't actually deliver at those times. So we had a few shops open, but the big ones couldn't open. And they bring in about 50% of our business. So that really affected us. Now that things are actually getting back to normal, the numbers are going up. So it's actually good for us that things are actually now where most businesses are closing at 8. So it's now got into a place where it's back to normal. People can order at 7, people can order at 8. So I'd say the business is now rising, and now it's actually just going to keep on going up into December.
Into festive.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give a startup that's currently going through Corona as well? What's your advice? What's your takeaway from this? Your first pandemic as an adult.
I would say, you know what, you have to be agile. You just can't be rigid. You have to actually always be thinking outside the box. Like, you can't think that, okay, just because we've always done things this way, that you can't do it differently. See, we had always been doing food, but we had to think, you know what, let's do groceries. And then you have to be quick to change because things are changing so quickly. Like, you know, fuel prices went up. There's a lot of things that have just happened, you know, and we had to adjust to change, okay, our pricing to US dollars. We had to, there's so many things that we've had to do in the past few months that normally guys would have had to do. But we had to change so quickly so that we could stay afloat.
Because you're lucky that you didn't have to pivot. A lot of friends that I have, South Africa and so forth, I have a friend who's at a brewery. He had to pivot from being a brewery because they were banned liquor in South Africa. So he pivoted from brewery to making sanitizer. Because the product is banned, you're selling contraband now. Yes. So you had to pivot. You were lucky as much that you didn't necessarily have to pivot. Yes, you did change the business model a bit, but you didn't have to pivot.
Yes. No, and that's very true. Like even there's bottles in Cape Town, which had to now start doing groceries, right? So that happens, and that's the thing. I think that's what a lot of people have learned this year. Even the big companies, everyone has had to learn that don't stay fixed in your ways. You're going to have to start changing. Even like, for example, the big guys that we're now working with, they had to change from it being so fixed that they were working just alone with TAD to realize, no, let's get a third-party delivery company. And we might not necessarily have full control of what they do, but we need to work with them. So I would say, you know, advice, like I'm saying, it's just you have to be quick. You have to be ready for change every day. And don't also be so fixed on we were always a brewery. Now you have to sell sanitizers, especially now that you want to survive, because still those have to be paid, salaries have to be met, right? And you have to think like that. And how do we keep on keeping the lights on? So it's just about just being flexible. And I learned that just even for us, as much as we didn't pivot, we had to be flexible.
Yeah.
So we might not have had to be as flexible as another startup, which was now affected, but which had to close. Because for us, we were an essential service. So we didn't have to close. We never closed a day, right? Because we were an essential service. What we had to start just doing is knowing that every driver had the right paperwork.
Sanitizer.
That's it. So now we had to make sure every driver's got masks, everyone's got sanitizers at any given time. Gloves for those who drive cars. You know, those are the things.
So the drivers enjoyed it. It means they're making more money.
Yes, it was good. And they didn't have to sit down. And then now we even got more drivers. You see, business became even more because we had more drivers, we had more cars. You know, it's been good. So I'll say there's no way we're going back.
Oh, there's no way you're going back. Wow, that's good. I'd say, so what would you change if you had to start all over again?
Easy.
Think 2016, 2017.
What would I change? I'll keep more equity first to myself. Put more measures to protect you have to protect yourself. It's business, and you have to understand that even when you're working with people, it's business. And you have to protect yourself, and everyone else is protected. So just making sure those things are just tighter. Learning things like contracts. Like I should have even made sure that our developer had a contract. I thought people were just all good. So you're trusting that he's got the same motives as you.
Yeah.
Not realizing that everyone's got different motives.
Yeah.
And don't expect everyone to think the way you think. So we're thinking it's going to be professional. We gave him money, you gave him half down, he's going to start, finish the work. No, he's thinking, man, I need to go and do something else, right? And those are little things that I would have learned that you need to make sure you're protected from the get-go with that. Like anyone that you're getting into business with, like contracts. And because this guy, we could have then tied him down better. He would have respected. But now, because I thought he was a saint, he disappeared. We only started 12 months later when we could have started with 8 months like to spare. So I'd say that just always watch every area of your business. Just be careful because, like for example, we trusted again with banks, and you start seeing banks sometimes will not put money at the time that you wanted them to put.
Yeah.
The right bank matters.
Yes.
Like we banked with the first bank that we banked with.
Straight.
Yes.
Obvious. That's pretty obvious.
But you see, they were giving us swipe machines.
Yeah,
so they gave us a good deal because other
they-
banks were not willing to do that. These guys were more, I was thinking they're forward thinking. It's a company owned by another big company. It's going to be legit. Not realizing they're also having their own battles that they were facing.
Yeah.
And because of that, that delayed us in some things, like in payments. So also just things like making sure that your recon is important every day. These are things that I didn't think were that important. But you start seeing it affect you when maybe you don't pay on time or something, right? Early days and all that. So just those things, I would say, and then also just have a learning heart. Like every day you're just gonna be learning, man. You're gonna be learning. Just listen to people, have advisors from day one. Have good advisors.
I hope you've got good advice.
Yes, now I actually do, right? But at that moment, you don't really see the value. And I see the value now. So I would have started off from the get-go. Good advisors. Learn from these, our parents' ages. These people have gone, they've seen a lot.
Yeah.
They've been screwed over a lot, right? They know so much. So when someone tells you something, really take it and listen to it because don't you're like, no, what do they know? Because you're just familiar with them. And I would listen more to their voices. So I'd say listen to people in business, obviously. Not saying just anyone, because you're getting into business. So just knowing your market really well. Like you should know more than anyone else.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I did that. But I'm saying I could even know more. Right. So I'd say those are the few things that I could tell people.
Where would you want an upcoming entrepreneur? Where would you suggest they go and get like this legal information? And because I get it from some of the books I read. Where would you suggest to someone else?
I would say the same thing that you're saying. Books. Reading a lot on startups. Reading up. Getting also acquainted with things like TechCrunch, all these other like tech magazines, right? Just to know what's going on around, and then also just looking up on the bios from the greats, right? You just see what's happened. Like I've been reading a book on Facebook, and you see all the messes that they.
There's the Winklevoss.
Yes, that was a big mess. You see, right? Ended up having to pay 20 million for that, right? Things like that. You just start learning. Airbnb had quite a few, right? But you're learning from. So at least when you read from other people's stories, there's nothing new under the sun. They say, and it's pretty true. Like you thinking your problems are unique to you, but someone else is like, wait, I've actually faced this, and they've actually conquered it. So the same thing, you can also do the same way you read on a lot of these entrepreneurs. Like when I was reading the Shoe Dog, right?
Great book.
Oh man, I love that book. And you see the stuff that this guy went through. And he was such an average.
He says it.
Yes, he even knows it. Yes, but he built Nike, right? And he was so fortunate to have great talent. Yes, that's another thing I would say.
That guy.
Oh, Brian Johnson. I mean Johnson.
Well, yeah, the one who built the waffle shoe. He was a basic.
Oh no, his partner. Oh, his coach. The one was his coach.
The coach.
Yes, exactly. See, another basic guy. But he always used to give feedback. And that's another thing. Listen to feedback, because this guy kept on giving him feedback on what the shoes should be like. Another one thing, this guy was persistent. He had nothing else going for him, but he was really persistent. For years, 10 years, he kept on just doing the same thing, right? So it means you just really have to believe in it, even when others don't believe in it. So I'll tell an entrepreneur, that's another thing. You need to believe in your vision, no matter what. Because others would be like, are you sure of Munch in Zimbabwe? I was like, I'm certain. And I knew this thing was going to work. And even right now, it's only the beginning. Like, I can tell you this is just the beginning. Now we're entering other cities and stuff. And I can tell you, I'm happy I stood by what I believe in, because hard days are going to come. They're definitely going to come where you're going to even question yourself. Say, am I doing the right thing? This not yet paying me enough. It is, but you just have to stay strong and do everything that you can in your power every day. So you have to just be assessing and saying, okay, I've done this, it didn't work. Okay, what did I do wrong? And just altering quickly. Even when someone's driving, you're changing gears, you're doing things as things are changing, right? So you also have to be quick to do that. But like I was saying, reading. Tell you just from reading a lot of books, reading, so you should know what you like. Have some self-awareness to know, okay, you know what, I'm not a great leader. Okay, so how do I learn to be a great leader? Read books on leadership. How do I learn on finance? Read books on even YouTube. This is the best time to be a success right now, because we've got so much on YouTube, so many videos, so many things that we can watch. As long as you've got internet connection, there's no reason for you to not know what you don't know. Because you can actually go on and check out something and be like, okay, wait, and you get a piece of information that you actually didn't have an hour before. So I would say a lot of this is the best time. Reading a lot. If you don't like reading, audiobooks. There's a lot of free audiobooks on YouTube. You know, hope that answers your question.
No, I mean that does. So where do you see the Zimbabwean startup landscape currently? Yeah, where do you see it currently?
It's low. There's not much happening, right? I mean, ideally, our startup space should get to the point where it's like Kenya, where it's like Nigeria, where it's like Cape Town. Right?
Why would you say like those markets?
Because at least those markets are already ahead. They're raising money. You actually see good raises. You actually see there's VCs there.
How would we now get?
How do we get there? First, we need to even have all those who actually have money, those who are in business, to start actually having a need to start supporting the youngsters who are actually trying to start things. And even just putting in, because a lot of people here just give you advice. We're done with getting a lot of advice.
We want money now.
We need money, right?
But this is what I'll say. This is not to shut you down.
Yes.
I've shared pitch decks with people. Ne? The guys who are much younger and don't have the funds, they'll get it like this. I'll send him the pitch deck for Munch, he'll get it like this.
Yes.
It resonates, he understands. Yes. I'll send it to an older guy, same pitch deck, to say where's the revenue? Or where's the it hasn't hit him like this. For him it's still but the younger guy who doesn't have money gets it. It makes sense.
Perfect sense.
He's like, okay, I know exactly what you're saying. This is a gold mine. And this was one Zimbabwean company which was looking to raise about 100K. And I looked at him like, this is a brilliant business because it can scale the whole of Africa. It can scale like easy and be worth a couple of 100 million. Old guy, next. Younger guy is like, yes, this is perfect. Now, how do you break that given Munch? Because if I'm an older guy, when I saw Munch, because I've seen you go through this journey. When I saw Munch, I was like, yeah, this is a good idea because you're getting what? Restaurants. You're not playing with DADs. You're playing the same space, but you're not on the same track. An older guy would be like, but there's DAD. Why do I need Munch? You know what I mean? So how do we, as startups, how do we change that narrative and produce more success stories? Because we need more Munches, more fresh in the boxes, more low baskets, more whoever's there. We need all these guys because the only way you can get funding is by seeing more success stories. So who's going to take that leap, that risk? So how do we get there? I mean, that's a difficult question, but
I know. So you're asking how do we get there as based from what?
From what you've seen.
Yes.
Yeah, from what you've seen, your own experience.
Oof.
The
We
Zimbabwean
need
setup.
more. We need more hubs,
Mm.
right? So that more people can actually start inviting these companies to see that, to come and start seeing the potential, the talent, right? Maybe they can be asked to start putting a little bit of risk. They don't have to put much in terms of. So these guys sometimes start thinking they have to put 900K. They should just start now even supporting 10, 20 startups, guys with potential, with at least 2,000, even like max 5,000, and just give them at least the chance to start flying. Because we're not even being given the opportunity to even just leave the ground.
Yeah.
Right. And then because what startups, if you see the startups that have actually started doing pretty well, we're getting traction, it's from them knowing contact, from then using, like I've had to use contacts of people that I learned with to get money. I'm sure Kuda did the same thing, like, just people in this network. But it should be so easy that a basic person who just wants to raise money knows exactly where to get money. But that's difficult. So now how do we even get awareness of that? We need to start making noise of the ones that are actually doing pretty well.
Yeah.
And we're not even making enough noise. The PR is so bad. We need maybe people who start making noise on those who are doing well, so that it gets the older people's attention that, okay, there's actually some um, young businesses that are actually going to change the landscape, right? And then at least bring that awareness. Like I said, there's YouTube, there's all these things. Start marketing those, like having conversations like this around startups that are actually doing well, and start hearing what's making them, what are their pain points. Because many of these older generation people don't even want to know our pain points. They don't even know what we go through on a day to day, right? So starting to put a magnifying that, so that people can know, okay, you know what, I actually have money. This youngster has got a good business that's going on. How do I help them? How do I connect my money with this business? And then also bring in some mentorship along that also, because they've also been in business for long. So it's really hard to just say like it's it's about it's about just magnifying the few startups that are actually doing well. Like you mentioned about four, right? And just getting knowledge to these guys who don't know. Because like you're saying, why is it a youngster picks it up? Because they are aware of things like MySpace, of Twitter.
MySpace.
Sorry, I mean like from those guys to like Twitter to Snap to Instagram, right? And they've seen those businesses, Uber, 10 years still running losses, right? And they've seen that, but they can see the bigger picture. And then start educating. I don't know how we start educating the older generation that, you know what, it's about when you exit, about when you IPO, not about every year when am I getting my dividends.
Yeah. I think one thing I have seen is what is this thing called? If you look at a lot of the corporates, the big corporates in Zimbabwe,
Yes.
and you look at the top executives, you find the CEO next to CEO, and then you have COO, chief marketing, whatever. You don't have a CTO. Now, in the world that we're living in, CTO is that guy. It should be CTO and CTO, COO, and CFO should be like this.
Yes.
Because all businesses, majority, if you take a bank is IT based. That's what a bank is.
Yes.
It does IT. So I'm surprised that you don't have a lot of big companies that have IT people. No.
Yeah, that's the other thing, like, to be honest, it's not the unis also need to get on board in terms of a lot of good coding, and a lot of, getting guys aware that, a lot of stuff is now going tech based. Like look at all the banks right now, we were forced to go online, right? We were forced to now start doing things online that we never had to do a year ago. So now you don't have to go into the bank and then start looking at a teller. Now you're actually just getting your stuff done online. You're making your payments. And those are things that we're now starting to realize that, if we do it, yeah, it's on. It's switching off.
That's